For years, the truth stayed hidden. The victims forgotten, the cases left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is Decades in the Dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. It was the dead of winter in Utah's Provo Canyon. A blanket of snow clung to the banks of the Provo River, but beneath that silence was a brutal truth. Just after sunrise on December 15, 1995, a helicopter pilot spotted what looked like a body on the rocks by the water's edge. Police arrived quickly, and what they found would haunt them for years. The naked body of a teenage girl, beaten so severely her skull was crushed. Blood had frozen to the granite stones around her, her face barely recognizable. No clothes, no ID, no obvious signs of who she was, only a murder scene marked by violence and rage. The girl was young. Investigators guessed she was somewhere between 16 and 19, but she wasn't reported missing, not right away. Days passed as detectives reached out across Utah and neighboring states. Then a match came. A missing teen named Krystal Beslanowitch, just 17 years old, a runaway. A girl from Montana who had fallen through the cracks. Her fingerprints confirmed the identity, and just like that she had a name, but no answers. Krystal Beslanowitch wasn't just a statistic. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend. She grew up in Montana, a bubbly and artistic kid with a love for music and poetry. But after her mother died, everything changed. She began to spiral, struggled in school, ran away, ended up in Salt Lake City, working as a sex worker at just 17 to survive. She was vulnerable, and someone took advantage of that. Her tragic end on the rocks by the Provo River wasn't just a murder. It was the violent erasure of a young life teetering on the edge. Investigators canvassed Salt Lake City's street scene. Dozens of interviews, rumors, dead ends. Krystal had last been seen getting into a car. But whose? Back at the crime scene, they found several granite rocks soaked in blood. The killer had used them, again and again, to crush her skull. They sent the rocks to the lab. But this was the 1990s. DNA testing was still primitive. Blood was present, but only Krystal's DNA came back. The killer's DNA, if it was there, remained buried, or had degraded too much to detect. The case went cold. Years passed. Investigators retired, and Krystal's case became another folder in a filing cabinet full of unsolved sorrow. Nearly 2 decades later, in 2013, a Utah County Sheriff's cold case investigator named Jared Jensen picked up Krystal's file. Something about it stuck with him. He re-reviewed the evidence, read every detail, and those rocks, those bloody rocks, kept nagging at him. Back in the 90s, forensic teams had swabbed them for DNA, but the porous surface of the granite had worked against them. Jensen wondered, was there a way to dig deeper? Enter the M-Vac, a game-changing tool in forensic science. Unlike cotton swabs or tape lifts, the M-Vac acts like a high-powered wet vacuum. It sprays a sterile solution onto a surface, then immediately vacuums it back up, pulling out microscopic cells from rough, porous material. It had been used to collect DNA off things like bricks and concrete, but never on evidence this old. Detective Jensen had one question. What if the killer's DNA was still embedded in that rock, just beyond the reach of 1990s technology? He got permission to try. The original granite rock was still in storage, sealed as evidence. The M-Vac was used to spray and suction across the blood-stained surface. The solution was filtered and sent to a lab for testing. And this time, it worked. From that decades-old granite stone, scientists recovered a partial DNA profile that matched Joseph Michael Simpson, a former Utah resident, now living in Florida. Investigators soon realized this wasn't just any man. Simpson had a violent history, one that had already ended in death. In 1987, he was convicted of manslaughter in the killing of Carla Schlegel, the roommate of his then-girlfriend in Clearfield, Utah. During a domestic dispute, Carla tried to intervene. Simpson lashed out, striking her multiple times. She died of her injuries. He pleaded guilty and served 6 years in prison before being released in the early 1990s. Now, nearly a decade later, another young woman was dead, and Simpson's name was back in the file. Though no one witnessed the crime, detectives were able to reconstruct a likely timeline. On the night of December 14, 1995, Krystal was working the streets of Salt Lake City. Simpson, working as a cab driver, likely picked her up. He then drove her nearly 40 miles southeast to Provo Canyon, an isolated area few would visit in winter. At some point, he violently attacked her. Blood evidence showed she was struck multiple times with heavy rocks. The same rocks later recovered at the scene. She was left without clothing or identification. No attempt was made to hide her. She was simply left in the open, as if discarded. The brutality of the attack suggested deep rage or a desire to dehumanize. Whether it was impulsive or premeditated remains unknown. Though the court never confirmed an official motive, investigators pointed to several likely factors. Krystal's vulnerability as a young, unhoused teen made her an easy target for someone seeking control or domination. Simpson's criminal history revealed a pattern of aggression toward women, particularly during moments of emotional volatility. There was no conclusive evidence of sexual assault, but the absence of robbery and the remote location suggests this was not a random act. Whatever his reasons, Simpson left behind more than just destruction. He left DNA and a trail. With the DNA match in hand, investigators tracked Simpson in Florida. They collected a discarded cigarette butt to confirm the match. It was airtight. In 2013, Simpson was arrested and extradited to Utah, charged with aggravated murder. The prosecution laid out the horror. A vulnerable teen, brutally killed and abandoned. The defense questioned the age of the DNA, but the jury wasn't swayed. In 2016, Joseph Michael Simpson was found guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He's still in jail to this day. For Krystal's family, the trial was a bittersweet moment. Justice had come, but the pain remained. Her father and sister sat in court, grieving anew. Krystal's memory was honored not just as a victim, but as a person, someone whose life had value. Detective Jared Jensen, the man who never gave up, credited the win not just to persistence, but to science. Krystal's case changed how investigators approach cold evidence. The M-Vac, once experimental, is now a trusted tool in solving crimes long thought unsolvable. Her case was the first known homicide conviction using M-Vac technology, and it set a precedent for dozens more. Krystal Beslanowitch's name is no longer buried beneath a headline or case file. Thanks to science, and one persistent detective, she was finally heard. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires.